I am sitting here at the airport waiting to board my flight to Barcelona. And I thought that we might as well take up a few issues that I'm sure that people are curious about when we talk about the Mobile World Congress and the topics that definitely will come up there this year. And I'm sure that one of the key topics that people will discuss is 5G, the fifth generation of cellular mobile technology. And why not just take a few things about that? First of all, how far are we? On the handset sides, there are definitely already new models coming out that has been announced with 5G on board. Actually, already before this event, Samsung has launched their S10, the Galaxy S10, with 5G. We know that Huawei is also coming, probably with the P30. Xiaomi has also said that they will launch with 5G. So during this year, perhaps already in second quarter, as I've heard, Verizon, who has launched already last year, with a 5G for in some residential areas in trials to substitute fiber for high-speed internet in houses. So instead of investing in digging down fiber for the so-called last mile, the access through the streets and into the houses, it's much easier to do it wirelessly with much lower cost. That brings us up to the network. So Verizon is definitely a front runner on 5G, very interestingly. Also because that Verizon has, I think, invested perhaps a bit less in media and not buying very big media companies. And I think they'll probably have some more cash to invest in 5G this year, whereas AT&T has done a pre-launch of 5G, and they have a struggle about if they're really allowed to call it that, because apparently it's not really the 5G technology that they are using there. Anyway, so what's about it? 5G is definitely about speed, but I'm not sure that this is really where we're going to see such a big difference. I mean, we all always talk about faster phones and faster computers, but I think speed is not really what amazes people so much anymore. Just look at the many launches that Apple have had on iPhones that are faster and faster all the time, and we're getting a bit tired of it, I think. I think that we hear a lot about Internet of Things on 5G, and what is that actually? Well, partly it's because that it's new technology that will connect all the different sensors that we can have in industrial environments, that we can put on our bodies, that we can have in the roads and cars and all the surroundings that we have. And getting at all this data is really what makes it interesting. And the interesting part of the Internet of Things is really joining all this data. But on the other hand, I also see that the fourth generation, which is out there already, there are a lot of different standards of that, or sub-standards, or whatever you would call it, that already caters for this. So we can already begin to see that now. NB, IoT, and that family of the different categories of low power, wide area access standards are already out there. And there are also a new family of technologies like Sigfox, the operator, multi-country operator with their network, but also LoRa as a technology which is more decentralized, that people can actually invest in their own proprietary networks based on that. Are also technologies that are promoting a lot of Internet of Things, because you can connect at a fairly low cost, high reach, long reach also for those networks. So I think that's very interesting. These are for narrow bands. These are for low speed communication. But many sensors actually don't need to send the information all the time. It can be perhaps once or twice a day, or once or twice per hour, or whatever. So they can actually benefit from these technologies. Of course, when we look at other part of Internet of Things, which is, you can say, cameras being everywhere, you can imagine, I mean, just take the cost of cameras today is so low, so you can really imagine that you'll have millions of cameras like they're putting up in China, and we definitely also see this in Europe and the US and many other countries. And when you start putting all those cameras online, and we have a technology where you can transmit all the full definition of this signal into the computers, into the servers, and start using artificial intelligence to analyze those pictures, then you get to something that I think is also a bit scary at the same time. But I actually think that Internet of Things will change a lot. So you can say partly Internet of Things, yes, definitely will change this. But I think where the really big difference is that with artificial intelligence, we will see the same movement that happened with electricity. In the beginning, you saw electricity being generated at the spot. Companies had their own generators, households had their own generators, and then certainly you couldn't begin to transmit electricity between big plants and out to the users because you had good transmission lines. And I think that the same thing is going to happen with artificial intelligence. So what we could call ubiquitous computing or ubiquitous intelligence, where you will have intelligence embedded in all the devices around us, and that intelligence is basically being supplied the same way that you can supply energy today to devices all over, in the buildings, in the roof, in anywhere on the street, in lamps and everywhere. You will see intelligence also being added to all of these devices. And then we can only start thinking about what that means when we have that combined with cheap sensors. Today you can buy sensors of any kind that cost much less than $1, a few cents. You have technologies with low power consumption, so you can have batteries that last for years. You can have these placed not only on our bodies but everywhere. And then you have intelligence to analyze all this data. And I think that cross-section there is really what is going to make a big difference. And I think that we'll probably see 5G being a very important technology in connecting all this stuff and bringing cognitive attributes, you can say, to devices all around us. That is probably where we're going to see one of the very, very big changes.